You're listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. We're alive to love, and all other values are potential BS. Now here's your host, Bishop Randy Dean.
Welcome, everybody. I treasure the fact that you would give me an opportunity to have a half an hour of your life and time. So welcome. This is my treasure in life, to be at the post that I'm at with this podcast, sharing with you, challenging with you, and challenging myself while I'm sharing with you that Christianity has really fallen upon some hard times of late, and I accept that. I've been in Christian ministry for well over a half a century, and so I'm not blind to this, and I refuse to have spent half a century at this and pretend like nothing's wrong. There's some stuff wrong in the middle of Christianity here in the United States of America. And so I'm to dig out and search out and untangle what we can find about the answers to that. And one of the things I know is that our spirituality in Christianity is so much less about certainty. It's far more about honest, authentic, genuine, mountain climbing love. So to that end, that's why I'm here. And I want to start with what I usually come in a few minutes later, but I want to start with Love's Creed, a little something that I wrote for myself several years ago. And then now I've offered it as a little miniature creed to those of you who would be so daring as to join with me in it. But I want to start with it so that you have a sense, first of all, before I pray the Lord's Prayer. But I want you to know, first of all, I'm not here to cram doctrine or dogma down your throat. I got nothing to cram down your throat. Somebody once said, well, all you preachers want to do is just shove it down our throat. And I heard another pastor say one time, man, I wish it was that easy. I could just shove it down your throat and walk away. But the point is, there is no such thing as shoving it down your throat if it's to be an authentic reality. So I want you to know I'm coming at this from Love's Creed perspective. All right? Here it is in total. Then I'm going to offer it to you to repeat after me so you can soak it in a little more in your meditation or in your thoughts. So here we go. Love's Creed is what this podcast is all about. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. Okay? Now, again, I wrote this as a means to guide me over a decade ago, but now I'm offering it to you as a small slice creed that you could pick up and use for your own purposes. No strings attached for me. It's just I'm offering this as a tool for you in your toolbox. All right, if you're so inclined, repeat after me. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. Yes. If you'd like a copy of that, shoot me an email, randydeanministries@gmail.com. That's all one word, Randy Dean Ministries, all lowercase at Gmail. Be a pleasure for me to send it to you, and there will be no BS on that. There'll be no bait and switch, no BSing you into giving me more information about you than you're comfortable in giving. Just a simple offer of Love's Creed, okay? So I say that at the onset of this podcast, and I'm going to switch that order, I think, routinely now from starting with the Lord's Prayer, but starting with Love's Creed to make sure you understand this is not your typical religious rot going on here. All right. Now, to that end, certainly the Lord's Prayer is far and away from religious rot, and yet it's been used and abused so much in religious circles. I just want to take extra caution and care. I hope you get that. So if you know it, join me. If you don't know it, listen in to the prayer that Jesus taught us to pray. It's a powerful meditation. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. You see, properly understood, we just prayed the most thorough, wise prayer you could possibly pray at any given time or any given day. And it's been prayed by billions of people over 2 millennia. So jump in that stream. I invite you. It's powerful. Well, I want to talk to you about, once again, why I'm here, what this is about. We have a few interviews in the past in our archives, and we'll have some more interviews coming up. But I've been doing this 30-minute solo podcast for now several months, over a year, I suppose, because I want to make sure there's a real stable foundation, real footing underneath what we do here. I know there are some people who use this podcast as a means for their own meditation, their own devotional, day in and day out. I'm honored that that's happening. So in that regard, and again, I am honored if you've chosen to give me this little slice of your time in life. I'm honored that that's happening. And the reason I'm going to do what I do today is because I do honor your sacrifice to be here along the way. Because I really want to offer genuinely honest and accessible conversations without dogma and doctrine. This is the day after the news that Dolly Parton passed away at 80 years of age, died too young. You know what? Boy, I want my life to be said. He dies at 100, they can say, whoa, he was taken too soon. She was taken too soon. Because in that one human being, we saw personified some of the very things that I've been speaking and preaching and teaching and offering here and unpacking. A life lived for love alone, without the barriers and the speed bumps of dogma and doctrine. The speed bumps of dogma and doctrine. Wow, when you think through, if you've been at all involved in spirituality as it's related to church and Christianity, when you think through what happens when you step into a church, one of the processes that I think we all work with is what will be expected of me to believe or not to believe as I sit in these pews, if I'm giving my money here, if I'm attending their business meetings, or I'm on a committee, or even if I'm just helping out in the children's ministry, if I'm teaching a class on Sunday mornings, whatever the case may be. I know many of you ask yourself, what's going to be expected of me here? Let me give you a small example of that, and why maybe this is why it's set up in me that it's very important to talk about this. My father was married prior to being married to my mother. He fell into some serious life challenges of his own making, and he blew up his first marriage. He had 2 daughters by that marriage, and he was divorced and moved along with life. And then he met my mother, who was 12 years younger than him, not really of any import here, but it is reflective of how he was managing life back in the late 40s. And so Dad, he navigated his divorce. It was not pretty. And then he moved on with life, and many years later, I mean, we're talking decades later, a few decades later, when I was off in Bible college and my dad and mom had retired and moved away from Wisconsin and down to Arkansas, a little retirement home and a small little farm. Mom and dad were energized and a part of a local church, and they were happy to be so. So dad got a part of that, and they needed a Sunday school teacher. Now, I'm telling the story about why there's anxiety in us as we enter in church doors when we do so innocently, or maybe less than innocently. We're very aware something's going to be asked of me as I walk in these doors. Well, my dad walked in those doors. He heard about the Sunday school teacher need, and he said, I can do that. So he set himself on the list of candidates to teach this class, and somebody somewhere said, hey, didn't Brother Dean, my dad, didn't Brother Dean have a previous marriage prior to his marriage to Helen, his current wife? And then, the little rumor mill got running around, and it landed into the Sunday school teacher inspection committee. And so my dad was asked about it at that point and said, hey, Brother Dean, weren't you married before? He said, oh, yeah, that's been a long time ago, and I've come a long way in my life and faith and growth. And I said, well, but we have a policy and a doctrine here that we can't let you teach Sunday school if you've been married twice. My dad was flummoxed. He was, actually, Mom told me, because my dad would have never told me this, my mom told me, your dad was heartbroken. Just tore him up. Well, and at that time, I was in Bible college, and I was smarter than Reverend Einstein, and I thought I had to get on the phone, call that church, and give them 14 pieces of my mind about that attitude. But it did set in motion what I'm talking about right now, and keeps me in motion for what I'm talking about right now. The anxiety we all can feel when we walk in the church doors, and we don't know what may or may not be expected of me. Now, I know that my dad's experience may be unique here in the 21st century, maybe not. But it makes the point, doesn't it? That different places you may walk in and you may have a little bit of sense of being forlorn about, well, if they find out this or that about me, or if they discover my doctrinal thinking or my ideas about faith and the Bible don't always line up exactly with what they think. So see, we're here in the 21st century of churchianity in America. We're at a place where we've got to have some conversations about that. And be sure that if you don't want those conversations will probably come to you on one level or another. Sometimes you'll have people inside a church and they see you outside the church, and they'll say, well, what are you doing outside the church, and why aren't you inside our church? And then you may answer that with some legitimate answers to say, well, I'm not inside your church because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the alphabet song. And they might even answer by saying, oh, well, maybe we can work that out later. See, that's a problem. How about we work out our love factor? See, this is where I'm at. How about we work out our love factor? How about we approach spirituality on the basis of love and love alone, and not dogma and doctrine? How about we offer to people? I invoke the name of Dolly Parton, who navigated country music with a wide spectrum of love for a wide spectrum of people that most country musicians and singers and stars don't often navigate, because their audience is not nearly as inclined to think like they think. But she didn't care. She just said what she believed, and if you didn't like it, well, I'm sorry. Well, then next. And on that note, what she was practicing and showing us with a life lived for love alone. So that's why I've been here now for 7+ years, and I'm asking for some honest, accessible adult conversations. What if Christianity was much less about certainty and much more about the uncertainty of love. And so that's why I'm here every week, to strip away at all the fears and the culture wars and the religious performance ideals. And I'm inviting you to rediscover this radical message of Jesus, this radical teacher and Savior and Messiah and Son of God and God in the flesh. How about we take a good look at those radical teachings and let's have some thoughtful adult conversations. You know, I believe in the Bible. I've read the Bible more times than I can count. I've got 2 Bibles that are at my fingertips pretty closely at all times. And while I love the Bible, I get squeamish. I get squishy when I hear churches or religious organizations get really loud about being biblical. Because what we really mean is, here's our understanding of what the Bible means, and we want our place to be really tied into what our understanding of the Bible is, so that we are, quote unquote, biblical. And if you come here, we're going to invite you to be just as biblical as we are. Well, I'm not with you. If you're going to advertise your church as being biblical, I got about 500 questions. And I don't mean just kind of easy questions. I mean, I got some hard questions for you. I don't want to be a part of a movement that is, quote unquote, biblical. I want to be a part of a movement that is deeply, profoundly, beautifully looking like Jesus, and the love and the radical revolutionary notion that he proclaimed and lived of love. You see, being biblical wasn't what got Jesus in trouble with his current religious establishment. It wasn't being biblical. It was the people he hung out with, the people he chose to love. The ideals that he carried were all rooted in love, and he made it clear. You know, I might be with 100 of you, but one of you is going to walk away, and I'm going to go find that one. Why? Because I love that one. And I'm going to discover whether or not that one was looking for an adult conversation with the other 99, and we weren't going to have it. So I'm going to go get that one, put that one on my shoulders, and I'm going to bring them back to the flock, and we're going to have some adult, full-grown sheep conversations. I'm stretching the analogy, I know. So I want to explore what it means to have a beautiful spirituality. I long for that. I have my whole life I've longed for a spirituality of beauty and depth, impact and import in me and through me. I wrote a book called Radiance, and in that book I promoted and taught and wrote 200 pages saying there should be about us an aura, a transcendence, a throbbing, beating sense that there's something about this life, whether it's yours or mine, that is attractive and draws me in. Radiance, that I would radiate a warmth, psychologically, yes, emotionally, yes, but deeply spiritual, a warmth that would invite thoughtful, adult conversations, that would give people the green light to enter my zone, to find a way to talk to me. And in talking to me, to be assured that I'm not here to convince you of how certain I am and how certain you must be of what's truth or not truth. Or let me say it this way, what's biblical and not biblical. Because what is biblical? Well, the Gospel of John starts off saying, in the beginning was the Word, and there was no Bible as we know it today at that moment when John wrote those glorious words in the first chapter of the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And it's beautiful, that first chapter of John. Go home, go listen to it or read it wherever you're at. Get a hold of the first chapter of John, especially those opening verses. And and understand that John wasn't saying, hey, I'm going to write a biblical gospel here. No, I want to write a gospel, but that is really good news that we held the word. We touched the word. We heard. We could smell the word. We experienced the word. And the word was God, and the word was Jesus. Whew, it's valuable and beautiful. And I don't want to get away from that. In fact, let me put it this way. So much of what has been promoted as churchianity and Christianity has gotten so far away from that because we want certainty in our pews. We want certainty on our websites. We want certainty in our sermons. We want our pastor preaching certainty, and we don't want anything that makes me uncertain or asking hard questions. We're scared to death of adult conversations about these uncertain matters. And I'm veritably shouting from the digital rooftops. Love is a gigantic, uncertain path, and it is the only path to valuable and beautiful spirituality. A valuable and beautiful spirituality that isn't afraid of LGBTQ issues and discussions. It's not afraid of discussing or talking about my Islamic neighbor. It's not afraid of being challenged to love our enemies. In fact, in an awful lot of churchianity in the United States, our enemies are usually people who aren't as biblical as we are. I mean, they're fast and loose with the Bible, but we're not fast and loose with the Bible. And that's what I mean. How about loving our enemies? How about loving our doctrinal enemies? How about loving our dogma enemies? And having factual, loving, respectful, kind, and beautiful adult conversations. To reach for, in spirituality, out of curiosity, how do we stay rooted in compassion? How do we stay rooted in justice? How do we see people who are marginalized or are pushed off to the side in our society? And how do we see them not as objects to be disdained because they don't work as hard as me, but as human beings who Jesus said, if you've seen in some least somebody somewhere, you've seen me. As you've done it to the least of these, you've done it unto me. In fact, he even put in that category folks that go to jail. Yeah, well, they're in the United States of America view of people that we're not real crazy about, not sure we want you on our church rolls or teaching our Sunday school classes. Well, there's that. Now, I know we've got to maintain guardianship of our children and wise purposes, background checks. I understand that. Hey, I started pastoring before I was an adult. I was 19 when I got my first authentic call and paycheck for being a pastor. I'm not a puppy. I'm a full-grown dog. I'm an old dog, and as this old dog, I has learned some new tricks through the world's travel for me. And I challenge you to join me in this grand, uncertain, wild pursuit of love, so that whether we're talking about community or everyday challenges or learning how to forgive people that have done horrific things to us, and when we understand our relationships, are we looking for rigid rules in our relationships, or are we looking for love in our relationships? I mean, how can I love somebody who doesn't match all my list? Well, love's big and bad and strong enough to do that. All right, I'm running out of time, and so I want to invite you to join me in this pursuit, because I believe the biggest mistake we make is thinking we still have time. Be present. Be kind. Love more. Love now. Mother Teresa said, go into the world today and love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others. And here's what I say. Ugly is getting done to death. Oh, baby. Oh, my gosh, I got to say it again. That hurts. Ugly is getting done to death. It's time for people of love to rise and radiate and shine with the beauty of living for love alone. Doing something beautiful that looks like, talks like, walks like, believes like love. Managing my life with love means I'm not seeking to manage your life so that it is a duplicate of my life. Managing my life with love is the willingness to receive who you are just as you are. Yeah, you know, the old song, Just As I Am. Well, yeah, that song used to be the grand theme of a lot of Christianity, and it's not anymore because we're not living that, because we're not living for love alone. So come join me. Live for love alone. It's a wild ride. It's uncertain, but it's a beautiful, beautiful, significant journey. Now, before I go, I want to invite you to breathe. Meditate with your breath. On the count of 3, take a good, long drag on the oxygen that's around you. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Down into your belly. And exhale. Now that's just breathing practice. Because what would be really good for you and me right now too, because I'm pretty energized, I hope you can see or hear that, is spend 3 to 5 minutes doing that. Just get alone and quiet. Turn stuff off. Don't be distracted. And breathe and meditate deeply in something that regulates your blood pressure, regulates your mental health, regulates your heart health, and gives you an opportunity to face another day or face another night of going to sleep at night. Now, in closing, wrapping this up, I'm challenging you, and have here for years now, challenged you to be a provocateur, a challenger of being able to say the 3 most holy, wise, magical, charmed, and yeah, even a little weird words. I love you. Saying it without creating one word out of it. Hey, I love you. Love you. Sometimes I guess that's necessary, but most times it's a way out of real commitment to it. I'm inviting you to a commitment to it. And yes, it's awkward at times. And yes, at times it is startling. And yes, at times you might ought to warn somebody. Hey, I'm going to say these words to you. I don't want you to be afraid. I don't want you to feel insecure. I just know that for my sake, I want to pass this along to you, and that is this. I love you. I've done it, and my wife and I have done it often enough. When people see us getting eye contact and slowing down a conversation, they see it's kind of like, oh boy, here comes that 95-mile-an-hour fastball. They're going to say those 3 words. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I've been on the receiving end of that years ago, and it is startling, but it's worth it. In this wild world, in this world of pain and cheers and tears, this trail of cheers and tears, I think it's important to find somebody and say, I love you. I so appreciate you giving me this little bit of your life and time, listening to my challenge to rise to the occasion of the beauty of love. I'm Bishop Randy Dean. I wish you all the love in the world. Hear me when I say to you, whoever you are, I love you. Happy trails, and God bless you.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. If you like the show, leave a comment on it. Or, even better, share it with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one.